Welcome to the Battle Buddy Podcast with Keith McKeever.
Welcome back to another episode of the Battle Buddy Podcast. Today we are talking with Chris Kirwan from Irreverent Warriors Greensboro, one of their chapters, hubs, locations. I don't know what you guys call it, but they're spread around the country. I know there's tons of them all over the place. Before we get started, welcome, Chris. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me. Yep, chapter. That's right. Yeah.
Chapter. Okay, all right. When you got networks all across the country, everybody calls it something different. So, is it somebody? I'm going to go ahead and put that scrolling across the bottom here. So his Linktr.ee will be scrolling across the bottom. If you're listening to this, it'll be in the show notes as well as the website to Irreverent Warriors. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, Chris.
Yeah, so I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I served from 2011 to 2017. During my time, I was in several different places in different capacities and different roles. I'd say probably the peak of my career was my time in Afghanistan in 2013. I deployed there with CLB-6. I was attached to them as a communications Marine. I was communications by trade, and pretty much anytime that somebody finds out that you have any kind of tech background, you automatically become some sort of techie. And so I was, in 2011, I went to comm school in Twin End Palms and learned how to program and use telephones. I was a tactical switchboard operator, which basically just is a telephone guy. And the old Corps would call it a wire dog, which is kind of like a secondary job, but it doesn't get used a whole lot anymore because we have digital telephone signals and things like that now.
But it sounds cool.
Yeah, where we don't have to, run cable hundreds of feet and miles and distances around compounds and things like that to establish telephone communication. So kind of past that, and we moved into a more digital and IP based market. So did that. And then when I joined my unit in Camp Lejeune, which was CLB-6, I was embedded into a truck platoon. I was reserves for most of my career other than that. But yeah, so came back in late 2013 and finished the rest of my career here in Greensboro, where I'm from and where I live now. And pretty much just rode it out to the end, and the Marine Corps changed a lot, and the war was effectively over for me, and decided to get out and move on to other things.
Yeah, that's kind of a good point of the time when you served. The war in Iraq was over, Afghanistan. I hate to say it had been going on for so long, it was kind of out of sight, out of mind for many Americans.
Yeah.
Which is an absolute shame, but I think that was kind of the reality at that point in time. So I'm sure there was a lot of changes as that dragged on and got closer to the end, last year. So
yeah, when I was there in 2013, so CLB-6, Combat Logistics Battalion 6, they're effectively, we support all of the forward elements, whether it's combat elements or any kind of other logistical elements. We get the 3Bs, the beans, the bullets, the band-aids, and we get them out to the front lines. So we'd go from Camp Leatherneck, which was the biggest, the biggest fob out there, and then we would transport it to smaller fobs like Camp Dwyer, Redvi, Shagazi, Shikvani, Musakela, basically anywhere north-south, we would deliver whatever it is. 20-foot quad cons and equipment and other vehicles and all sorts of stuff. So
you're everybody's best friend, bringing the stuff they need.
Yeah, we never really knew what we were bringing, but we were, it was basically you got your load out and you'd go to different parts of Leatherneck and pick stuff up for somebody and take it somewhere.
Yeah, taking to the guys who need it. Like I said, you got to be everybody's best friend at that point. Because I know my first deployment, we had logistical issues getting food sometimes and other things. And when it came in, boy, did morale go up.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So that's awesome. So once you got out, you eventually got involved with Irreverent Warriors. For those people who may not be aware of what it is, what is Irreverent Warriors, and how did that kind of get started?
So, Irreverent Warriors, to start with our mission statement, we bring veterans together using humor and camaraderie to improve mental health and prevent veteran suicide. We do this through many different avenues, but probably our favorite avenue is our Silky Hikes. That's basically the nucleus, and it's our Super Bowl. We spend our entire year planning and basically from the ground up, we plan these elaborate hikes that look really simple to the hikers, which is kind of the goal, is to give them an experience that seems really easy to just go to and be a part of. For us, it involves marketing, fundraising, project management, IT work. It involves a lot of different stuff. So I kind of got, so my personal connection to this organization kind of started in 2019 when I launched my own nonprofit called Hunt for the 22. And it was kind of the same thing. It was, I lost David West in 2014 and then John Burnell in 2015, two Marines I served with who took their own lives. And for many years, just kind of sitting with that and all the questions that come around that, like, could I have done more? And just the confusion really of wondering, man, why is this happening?
What did I miss?
Yeah. I mean, what were the signs that I missed, and how can I make sure I never feel this way again? And, it just, whether you knew somebody or not, there's a connection. Every veteran is connected to somebody who dealt with this struggle, because it is such a epidemic right now. Veteran suicide, the 22 a day. It's there's a lot of studies that show different numbers. I say it doesn't matter. One is too many. And so in 2019, and I was like, what can we do? And I started seeing these kind of silky hikes all across the country. And I mean, I didn't know if they were Irreverent Warriors or not, but I would just see them and like, man, that looks really fun. And so basically I got together with some friends. I said, let's try to put something like that on in Greensboro. And, we'll go 22 kilometers with 22 pounds for the 22. Really simple. I think it had some traction, and we did it for 3 years. Last year was the last year I did it. But it didn't, I think the 22 kilometers where we lost a lot of people. I mean, even for myself,
you would have lost me there.
Yeah. Even
the 22
for myself,
pounds I could do, the 22 kilometers, I don't know.
Yeah. Even for myself, I don't consider myself any kind of athletic, freak or anything like that, but I'm in decent shape and I exercise regularly and eat well. And I really struggle with it. So I had to do a lot of prep and a lot of, training rucks to work up to it. And so that was really difficult. But what happened was I found out about Irreverent Warriors through 22 Kill, and they were like, hey, these guys over here are kind of like doing the same thing. Why don't you go talk to them? So I did, and I got hooked up with Nate McDonald's, who's their COO, another Marine Corps veteran, and got on a call with him, just, looking for advice. What can we do better? And long story short, he basically said, well, we're not really that territorial with the cities that we pick, but, North Carolina is a pretty popular state for these hikes. Before me, there were 7 other hikes in North Carolina.
I was just saying, I looked at the map again the other day and the dates, and it was like, wow, there is a lot. I think in North and South Carolina, that whole southeast area, there's a lot.
Yeah. From basically Virginia all the way down the East Coast, there's probably 15 to 20 hikes right in there. And so he was like, we're probably going to eventually have a hike in Greensboro, so why not let it be you that coordinates it if you're already plugged in and you already kind of know what you're doing there. And so I was like, that sounds like a good idea. I'll think about it. And then prayed about it. And because, Hunt for the 22 was kind of my baby. It was kind of my project. And so I had a little shed of pride thinking, I was going to give that up. I was like, you know what, like looking at the way they've been able to affect the veteran population and the way that they're able to bring people in and have such a great culture. And I'm like, man, like if I could just bring that to Greensboro, that would be a far better service than what I'm going to be able to provide with the spare time that I can give to it. So I said, yeah, let's do it. I talked to the other guys that was helping me, and I said, what do you guys think? And they said, we'll support you with whatever. So here we are. I have a great team of 5 other individuals, 3 other Marines and 2 Army cats. So we're full steam ahead. We've got a great hike planned already, and we're really moving forward in a good way. And so we're pretty excited to put Greensboro on the map this year.
Awesome. Now yours, if memory, I didn't write it down in my notes, but is it July 16th?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Okay, I see. Oh, look, I remembered that from the other day.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that again if I tried.
Yeah.
But no, that's really awesome to that had to be really hard, to make that decision with your nonprofit. But when you look at something that Irreverent Warriors, because I've known of them for a few years, when they're doing it at scale and they have systems and they have support that's around you, it's more of a, do I try to do this on my own, or do I jump on the bandwagon and make make a more immediate effect?
Exactly.
Could have made an effect yourself, but
we were approaching some really difficult decisions and some really big growing pains on how we were going to get the traction that we wanted to actually be able to make it worth our time. And they had already been through the growing pains, and they already had the culture, and they already had the processes, and everything was in place. And all I had to do was just step into it and trust God that this was going to be a place for me. And so it's been a really incredible experience so far. I was going to say too, is the Silky hikes are our big thing, but this year especially, they have emphasized the fact that we can't prevent veteran suicide one day a year at our hikes. And so we have to take some responsibility and accountability for our communities throughout the year. So just my chapter alone, we've had an event. We've had a couple events already, but we've got an event basically every month leading up to our hike. And then we'll have some more in the fall. And so the money that we're able to raise goes towards those things too. Like, next Saturday, we're going up to Hanging Rock, about 40 minutes away. And we're doing like a little camping and hiking overnight trip. And, so some of the money that we raised, we're going to be able to buy some food, have a nice barbecue, have some camaraderie. And so stuff like that just allows veterans to kind of get out of their comfort zone and lean into something that's really easy for them to just come hang out, no strings attached. You can, come for an hour, come for stay overnight, stuff like that. We want to be able to offer. And so we've effectively been able to do that.
I think that's where I see the effectiveness of this, is whether it's the hikes or camping or whatever else somebody could come up with. It's easy, and virtually everybody can do it. Even if you can't physically do those things, you can at least show up and and have that connection to the community. Because I've said for a while now, well, there's a lot of different things that get veterans down the path of either suicide, homelessness, or substance abuse issues. One of them is and arguably one of the bigger ones is a lack of connection to the veteran community. Because, as you know, we lose that at the moment you leave. You left the Marine Corps, and as soon as you did what the Marines do, they put somebody in your slot in your unit. Somebody else is doing that job. And so you're on the outside, and your only connection to them was who's on your Facebook friends list.
Right.
Who you connected with on LinkedIn, and that's about it. And, you're not bumping into them every day. You're into a different world immediately.
That was a really difficult part for me in my transition out of the Marine Corps, because I had been in the reserves. And so I saw these guys on a pretty regular basis for, 6 years. And so finally hanging up the uniform and, realizing I can't take anything back. I can't do anything differently. I can no longer impact the Marine Corps as it stands today. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I worked really hard, and I felt like I did a good job for the areas that I was given the opportunity to serve. And I would like to say that I didn't leave anything out there on the field, but there's always regrets, things I wish I could have done better, and impacts I wish I could have made more of. And, but at the end of the day, you never feel like you do enough. You never feel like you impact enough people. And that really sat with me for a long time. And pretty much spent most of last year praying for an opportunity to be able to serve veterans with the experiences that I have, to be able to show veterans that people still love them, that they still have a purpose, and that they're valuable and they're necessary for our society. And I've been able to find that here. I've been able to find a connection to other veterans who just are all in for each other. That's another big issue I found, is the relationships with, I'd say, I guess you call it the civilian population. It's difficult to lean on civilians the way that I used to lean on people in the Marine Corps. You just expect the people you are close with in the Marine Corps, you don't have any doubt that they're going to show up for you. I can't say that about all the friends that I have on the civilian side. It just is a different level of commitment. And so when you're really hyper committed to people in your life, and they can't show you the same kind of commitment, you really just kind of look at it and go, none of the time and none of the effort that I've put into my relationships are really bearing any fruit. And then with Irreverent Warriors, it's like, all you have to do is call somebody. There's always somebody willing to talk to you. There's always somebody who can relate, and there's not going to be any judgment. There's no, and the thing I love too is we don't care about what you did in the military or didn't do. We don't care if you were a combat veteran. We don't care if you were, an admin guy that never saw, never left your desk on stateside. It doesn't matter to us. We're committed to keeping veterans alive, and that's the bottom line.
Absolutely. I mean, that's I've said for a while as well that there's this weird dynamic between civilians and veterans. There's this curiosity that they have about us that they'll never fully know and understand, and we will never quite fully know or understand their perspective either.
Yeah,
because of the things we've seen done, the training, going through basic training, boot camp, whatever. You just train for different things, and you look at the world in just a different view. Like it's night and day difference.
Yeah,
and because I felt the same way. Like I've got some close friends I grew up with. I talk to them a couple times a year. It's not the same as what it was before I joined the military, that's for sure. But even professionally, networking with other people, and then you find out you're a veteran, and they start asking questions. It gets weird and awkward. It's like, well, now I'm telling the PG related version of what happened. It's whereas you and I, or any veteran to veteran could share their stories in, dare I say, more graphic detail, and more to it. And then sometimes you end up kind of, like I said, making it PG for some of the civilians, things like that. There's this barrier that just needs to be broken down. I don't know if I ever will, but we can definitely do what we can to break that down. But at least we have each other. That's the goal, is we need to have each other's back.
Yeah. And something that I try and emphasize, especially locally, is communicating and getting out into the public, getting out into places where there are a heavy civilian population, because number one, we need them. We're a nonprofit, right? So we need them to source our activities, or we need them to fund our activities. And the other thing is that you do look at the civilian population, like they don't understand us, they won't help us. It's like, that's not true. Like they want to help you. They look at all the organizations that are ran by civilians dedicated to helping veterans. I mean, there's so many of them.
Yeah, they want to. Sometimes they may not know the best way of really helping.
Right.
But the passion is there.
It is. And so I think we do a disservice to the public when we kind of create a barrier and just draw a hard line in the sand and say that these people are never going to understand us, and we're just, I don't want anything to do with them. And so I try to make it a point at least for Greensboro, and I think Irreverent Warriors does this as a whole, because we're operating in their space, right? We need to abide by their rules. We need to respect the cities that we involve ourselves in. That's why over the years we've worked to, I say I've only been a part of the organization for less than a year, but the company as a whole has worked to become a more professional organization, to be able to be more effective in what we're doing. We need civilians to be on board with us so that we can be able to operate still, and that we can be able to be, we want to be one of those names that's mentioned with other organizations that help prevent suicide. We want to be kind of a household name in the veteran community. And the only way we're going to get there is by telling our story in front of civilians who want to back us. And so it's important, and we're really dedicated to it, especially in this city for me, because I've lived here my whole life. And both my parents are also Marines, and my brother is an officer in the Navy, and my sister is a E4 in the Navy. And so the military community is a really big deal to me. And there's a lot of people I know who want to back us and want to help us. And so it's been a really good opportunity to be able to share what Irreverent Warriors is doing locally and nationally. Internationally, really. We're international now.
Wow. So people can book some tickets and go overseas and do some hikes.
Yeah, you can go.
Not quite backpacking in Europe, but similar to it, right?
Normandy, France is having their hike this year.
That'd be awesome.
June 11th. And then England has a hike. So does Guam and Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico already had their hike. So we're international now. And I think we're going to want to go to Germany as well at some point.
I was just thinking that Germany and Japan and South Korea would be some great places to
we're definitely expanding to countries like that, because we've it's all been about the American veteran up to this point, but we want to emphasize veteran as veteran, and that and especially NATO countries who are in Afghanistan with us, we want to reach them as well.
Absolutely. I think that's something that gets lost is I know between my two deployments, especially the first deployment, saw Polish troops coming through there quite a bit. We were in southern Iraq, so we were in the AOR for the Brits. They had, I think, pretty much everything from Basra south. And, so I can't remember some of the other ones, but I know in Kuwait, you had the Australians there. You had the Japanese Air Self-Defense Forces there. The Germans were there, So it's
Turkey, Georgia.
A lot of different countries. Matter of fact, I just
Jordan.
I've got an episode coming out here in just a few weeks with the British Army veteran. You know, so it's that's a good way of looking at things. We're not all alone. We didn't fight these wars alone. We had allies, and we need to be allies across the giant ponds too. So that's awesome to hear some things going there. So you've only been with the organization for a little while, but you had yours as well. What kind of impact have you seen through the programs that you've been doing?
So the biggest things for me that I've been able to just see upfront and personal is I've seen some people who I know personally have struggled with PTSD severely, who struggle with social anxiety and things like that. I have been able to see them find people that they've been able to connect to and just watch them grow in a really cool way. And I think that for me personally, being able to connect people on that level, it's not about me. It's just being able to make the connection between two people and be able to help them find each other. Like I have a friend who I introduced to another friend at an event we did 2 weeks ago. And it turns out they had the same AO in Afghanistan in Musa Kayla, and were there at the same time in different capacities. And so, when you chew the same dirt as somebody in a place that you feel like you kind of left a part of your soul in, it's just like an instant connection. And so being able to make those connections has really been a beautiful thing for me to be able to witness. And honestly, it's everything that I prayed for, and it's everything that I hope for when I joined this organization, just to be able to impact people like that. I mean, there's a lot of stories that haven't been told yet, I know. And just being able to find that veteran who didn't even know that we were going to be at such and such place, and they hear about us and they just instantly want to jump in, and seeing other veterans be passionate about meeting other veterans has been a great deal of satisfaction for me.
Yeah, you never know who you're gonna bump into at an event, especially something big like that. Because I'm sure every little chapter is different, but I'm sure some of them get quite massive. And then I think some of the power. I don't know if the other chapters are doing it, but I love that you're having camping and other type activities, because I think for those that are out there really struggling, just the idea that, oh, you know what? I got a week and a half until the next event, and I want to see Chris again. He's a cool dude. Can't wait to hang out with him, have a beer around the campfire. Just like the thought of like, oh, yeah, I'm going to see my buddy again in a couple of weeks. Like I can't do this. Like just hang in there, whatever. Just that almost accountability, I guess.
It is
like, I got something to do. I got somebody to see, people who care about me and understand me. And that alone, just the idea of that coming up, I could see having a huge impact on saving lives.
It does. I mean, I've heard stories that there are people who these hikes are literally saving their lives. They hike every single week, and they don't take their own lives because they know that there's a hike that they can go to every single week. And that constant, feeding of the soul, really, and being able to release those endorphins and have something to look forward, it really does a lot for a lot of people. I mean, just look at our lives, take the veteran aspect out of it, and just look at, you as a person. You're grinding at work all the time. Maybe it's these podcasts for you to be able to connect to other people. For me, it's church and it's Irreverent Warriors, and just to be able to have something to look forward to. It's what really keeps us going, because the daily grind, it just gets old if you don't have something that you're passionate about on the side that you're doing. And that's what I really love about Irreverent Warriors is we're not like a club. We don't have, it's not like we have a membership. And, I'll compare it to like the Marine Corps League, very effective and very important organization. But the reason why it kind of fades out and it's not real popular amongst younger people is because we can't commit to that, because we have aspiring careers, we have young children, things like that. We need something that's no strings attached. We can just get up and go to a place if we're available. And that's what Irreverent Warriors has been able to done. And that's why it's attracting so many people, is just because, hey, there's a hike this weekend, for North Carolina.
It's a half a day.
Yeah.
And we're in this tech savvy world where everything is so fast paced, everything is like at our fingertips, and attention is so short that you're just capturing a small snippet of time in a year.
Yep. And like with North Carolina, the North Carolina hikers, we travel because there's 8 hikes in North Carolina. There's one next month in April 9th, I want to say, is the first hike in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And from there all the way till November, we have a hike every single month. So,
wow,
it's like, it's easy to be able to just plan on going to a hike every single month. If that's what you want to do, it's available to you. And that's just North Carolina. So, I mean, like you just said, we have Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Virginia, West Virginia.
Yeah, so they're all over the place. I know here we've got one 20 minutes from me. and they do that on July 4th in Hopedale, Illinois.
Right.
Chicago has one. I think St. Louis has one. There's one in Davenport, and I might be mistaken, but I believe Indianapolis has one as well. So there's
I wanna
good,
say they do. I remember working on
3 or
I'm
4.
also on the national IT team, and I remember doing the Indianapolis email address this year.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, so that's like 4 hours away. So that's if you're here Central Illinois anyway, you've got 4 other hikes other than the Hopedale one that are
Yeah.
within a 4-hour drive. That's doable. So it's I'm sure across the nation they're going to be more sparse in some places,
Yeah.
more populated in others.
The Midwest, it's growing, but there's some spotty areas in the Midwest. I don't think we have anything in the Dakotas. I don't think.
Does that surprise you?
No. But I mean, those are kind of like destination hikes for me. I mean, it would be beautiful to be able to do that.
I'm sure a couple months out of the year that would be absolutely beautiful. It really would. When I think of the Dakotas, I think about wintertime and neck deep in snow.
The reason why there's 8 hikes in North Carolina and the reason why we can pull that off is because, it's not really cold unless it's December to February, pretty much past that. And then 3 of our hikes are just right on the beach. Jacksonville, Wilmington, and Atlantic Beach are all just right there on the beach.
I'm sure they're not all like this, but I could see places like that, or if you get up in the foothills of the mountains or something, really scenic places. I don't know how much talk there is about that, but that in of itself could be therapeutic and healing to some people.
Yeah,
Hopedale, Illinois, I hate to say it, it's cornfields all around, so it's all about the people with you.
Right.
But walking on the beach is different.
I had somebody reach out to me who wanted to possibly do one out west because I want to say that I'm the furthest west for North Carolina, and we don't have one west of me. And somebody was wanting to do one possibly in Asheville, which is another you know anything about Asheville, North Carolina?
Not a whole lot.
That's where the Biltmore estate is.
Okay.
So the Biltmore House is there, and it's a lot of great restaurants and breweries downtown. So they're kind of famous for the Biltmore House, but a place like that might be really scenic. But there's as far as scenic hikes, I'm trying to think, Texas doesn't have any. Maybe some Florida. A lot of Florida hikes are on the beach. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. There's so many. There's 90 hikes. So
I was going to say it's got to be close to 100 or so.
Yeah.
Based on what I remembered on the map the other day.
Every year we grow like 25 to 30%.
Nice. It'd be awesome to have some more around here because I missed July 4th last year. That was the first time I heard of them having one here. So I don't know if it was the first one or not. But speaking of scenery, I think it's important for people that don't know that beaches and mountains are not the only scene. You got to kind of paint the scene as a whole. This is not just people showing up at a park or a beach and just going for a hike. There's a lot more to it. There's the silkies. There's the, American flag bandanas and all the crazy outfits, or the shirtless people painting on themselves. And
yep, you got to get you.
It is fun.
Got to get you some silkies. These are my thigh huggers. They're the jorts silkies.
Chris, you were the first model I've ever had on the podcast. that is a first.
Yeah.
I can tell you what I will not be wearing silkies myself. I will be that guy that is not wearing them.
Oh, come on.
A little short for me. Okay.
No, come on. We'll get you some.
Yeah. Well, we'll see about that. Maybe I'll get a pair and try them and see if it's comfortable. I'm a basketball short kind of guy.
Okay. Fair enough.
But yeah. Maybe I'd be more tempted to go shirtless, even though I'd get really sunburnt fast.
You might.
Yeah, that's all right. It's all for the fun, but
yeah.
There's
let me see. Hold on. So basically, usually my garb is red, white, and blue, and then I'm kind of known for this right here. This is kind of my staple.
Oh.
The mullet. It's a fake mullet. That's kind of what I wear when I'm on the hikes. It's usually a red, white, blue, all the way down to my Chucks. And I rock this with
And it's built-in sun protection. You don't have
oh,
to,
yeah.
that's awesome.
Keep the sun off your face.
I'm gonna have to find out where you got that. I need like a truck. You know what? I need to go back to the guy who made these hats, see if he can make me one with that.
Yeah. Get yourself a fanny pack for all your good stuff there. And the other thing too is a lot of people they don't even hike with like a pack or anything because the water situation is that there's always water there. We have hike support that basically just jumps to different parts of the hike, and we'll hand out water and Gatorade, snacks, everything. So you don't even have to worry about carrying a heavy pack with all your gear in it. Like I'm going to have this fanny pack so that I can have my wallet, my keys, my phone, and then I'll take a light backpack just to basically put socks and maybe some, we call it mule tape and things like that.
Yeah, you got to carry a few things with you, and I'm glad you kind of mentioned the volunteers along the path, passing out water and stuff, because some people, hiking may not be their thing, may just not want to do it, but just show up. So, should they reach out to the local chapter and say, "Hey, I'm interested in volunteering. I don't, not interested in walking. Where can you use me?" Yeah,
absolutely. So you can go to that chapter's Eventbrite, which is where you sign up for the hike, or you can find if you go to IrreverentWarriors.com and go to the cities tab and find a hike that you want to attend and volunteer at. You just sign up for the hike and just sign up as a volunteer, and they'll get you going.
Awesome. Great opportunities there. So anything else that you can do to paint a picture of, what else goes on at some of these events?
So there's usually stops at the events where you probably walk a mile to a mile and a half per stop. The pace is very slow. Usually 2.75 miles per hour is the average pace, which is super slow.
So shuffle along.
Yeah. Especially at the front. They're going as slow as possible to prevent any kind of bungee effect. And so we try and stay organized and try not to just look like a gaggle out there, because we really, Wilmington is 400 people. So you talk about if you start gaggling and you get really, out of order, that hike can look like a mess. And so it can look like a riot, a mob. And so we want to look uniformed. And so very slow pace. And then the stops are usually, like for our stops, we actually have a local brewery who is going to brew us a beer called Humor and Camaraderie. Is actually the first time I'm announcing it. It's in the works right now. And they're going to sell it to all the different restaurants and breweries that we're going to be stopping at, so people can actually buy it and drink the beer on the hike. And so that is a thing. And then other stops might be like, we're going to stop at a park. We're going to play, like, we'll do some sack racing. We're going to do some cornhole, tug of war, stuff like that. And then, so there's little games and stuff like that we play. It just gives people an opportunity to get to know one another, talk for a little bit. And also it breaks up the hike order. So like when you fall back in, you might fall back in next to somebody else this time and talk to them for a little while and things like that. So it just gives you a really good opportunity to get to know some different people.
Yes. Yeah. Easy to do when there's 400 people.
And I do want to say there, there's some people I talk to who are sober and they want to stay sober. There is drinking generally at the hikes, just by nature of it. You're around veterans. There's probably going to be alcohol. And so we have a really
rule of thumb to think of. Yeah.
Yeah. We have a really strict policy about open container on, like, in the hike formation. That's why we give people an opportunity to drink at stops, so that we don't run into any kind of legal issues, because we do have to pull a permit. And a lot of times that involves, obeying the law.
Jumping through some hoops.
Yeah. And so if you're interested in going on the hike and you want to stay sober, reach out to the local coordinator, which you can usually get a hold of them by going to our Facebook group or going to our Instagram page and just saying, could I get in contact, or go to our national page, our national Facebook page. Say, I want to contact the local coordinator of the Greensboro site, and they will give you a direct line to me, and I will answer it. And if you say, hey, I want to come to this hike, but I'm really early on in my effort to be sober, I'll get you a battle buddy. I'll get you somebody who can be accountable for you, and somebody will be accountable for you. And so if that's something you're worried about, don't worry about it. We'll help you out. And we'll make sure you stay sober.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because last thing we want somebody to do is to break that sobriety. And,
yeah, absolutely.
I would urge any listeners that are interested in doing this. If you're one of those people that's like me, I drink, but it just depends. Like there's a lot of environments.
I don't like to drink in public.
And so it just depends. And I would be one of those kind of guys where I would reach out to my local chapter, and I may very well do this and say, look, if you got somebody who is in that sobriety and they don't want that peer pressure, I will go with them,
Yeah.
So you need those people too. You need that go-to people of say, hey, you need a battle buddy for this work.
And there's a lot of people who just don't want to drink on these hikes because it number one, some of the issues we've ran into in the past that have given Irreverent Warriors a negative image are the ones that drink too much on the hikes. And those people, they don't always get invited back. And we don't want to have to do that. We want everybody to have a good time. And if you're out there looking like a drunk a-hole, it really kills the mood a little bit. And so we want to
makes us all look bad.
Yeah, exactly. And we're walking on busy streets too. Like mine, where we're walking downtown. Like we don't want to look like a drunken mob. And so we have a strict rule that we don't allow open container in hike formation. And that's to try to attract anybody from drinking in the formation. I'm not going to be the police and stop somebody from drinking, if they're doing it kind of under the radar. If I don't see it, then I can't stop it. Right. But if I see it, I'm going to have to stop it. But just point being,
don't be that guy.
Yeah. Point being, we try to keep the hikes as sober as possible while we're moving as an element. And so
that gives you an opportunity in the hot sun to hydrate up in between drinks too.
That's the other thing is we're hiking in July, and that's why we're giving people an opportunity to drink at stops if they want to. Otherwise, you should stay hydrated.
Absolutely. We should all be good at that.
Yeah, you hope.
We're good at hydrating. I'm not saying it's with water, but we're good as veterans with hydrating.
Most functional alcoholics in the world.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Active duty military.
Absolutely. So, well, anyway, Chris, I appreciate you coming on here and sharing everything about Irreverent Warriors, your story, and I highly encourage anybody out there who just wants something to do, wants to meet some people, wants to get some exercise, or just wants to walk, talk, and drink some beer. This is a great way to do it and build your network and connect with people.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, feel free to hit that Linktree. There's a contact form in there, and it'll come directly to our email. And if you need any other information, or if you're a little confused, and just hit us up, we'll be happy to talk with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. That Linktree and the Irreverent Warriors website will be linked in the show notes, so people can contact them there. You can reach out to Chris directly, reach out to me if you need, and I'll point you in the right direction. But most importantly, people, just remember to share this episode, share this with your battle buddies, people who might need it, people who might be interested. Go like, share, follow Chris's chapter and Irreverent Warriors as a whole, and my podcast. So the more we spread messages of what people are doing, the more we can impact people. So once again, Chris, I appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Keith.